So here's a quick rundown of what we did in class. This is really quick, and it doesn't cover the 3 hours of discussions we had in class. So this by no means actually recovers what we did or what I'm expecting, okay? It's class is the only way to be able to get that, whether it be online or in person. So with this character, we're going to go ahead and rig it. You can rename the file when you save it to m_Morgan_rig 010203, and I'll grade that. We don't want the wings. We don't need to work on those. We're not going to bother skinning or rigging all the feathers and everything. So we're just going to hide that off. Don't need that little strap then. Hide that off. We don't need these ones. And, as far as the eyelashes and the hair goes, we're really not going to do those either. We're not going to be concerned with them, at all. So, in this case, we could pretty much just come up with the character as it is. I'm going to show you how to kind of deal with some of these other elements as examples, as things you may have to do in your own rigs to make it all work. So we don't need to see most of this to get the rig laid up. So we actually don't even, in this case, want to see the hair. We really don't need to see the eyelashes or the eyeballs for that fact. I'm just going to select everything, then deselect there so that we've got that and just hide it off for now. We want to simplify. We don't need to see the arms and the body materials. We do need the boots because we need to see where all that stuff is. So this right now is in a folder called Morgan Model. I'm going to just select everything here with Control A. I'm going to right click Properties. We're going to go to see-through on, and then we can freeze it, and we can freeze it in place. Now you also want to turn it off from high quality and go back to standard so you're not looking at lighting, because it's just going to confuse things. So I can't select anything and I can see through it. Over to create helpers and standard, and down a cat object, we're going to open up cat parent, and we're going to pick base human and drag out a base human. Because this model has been modeled correctly, and in this case it is standing dead center, okay, absolutely dead center, not close but dead center. In the left viewport we can see it's mirrored. When we look through it, you can see we don't see two sets of vertices. Therefore we only really need to rig half and then copy everything over. So we want to check our meshes and make sure that they look correct and everything else. To get our rig in the middle, don't guess. Never, ever, ever guess. All you have to do is go to move and right click on the spinners and put it in the center. Okay, it's in the center now. The next step is to get this pelvis in the right location. And the way you do that is with the cat units, and you dial it up. So the hips are somewhere up here. So the hip joints are right about there. So, we want to get these until they're at that hip joint spot. Okay, so I'm just going to go back there and just pull that probably about there somewhere. Okay, so that has to be done first. Now, something I noted in class, and I'll just mention it now: never scale anything ever, 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 ever. Don't use the scale tool unless you know what you're doing. 99% of people don't know what they're doing. However, in cat rigs, you can scale everything because it actually isn't running scale at all. Okay, it's actually running the parameters. So we're going to start by getting the rest of the pelvis in place. You can see it's not in place. You can see where the pivot is. And, we can think of our pivot as around here at the base of the spine, but we generally want to move things in. So there's the kind of top of the tailbone, right at the top of the crack of the butt there. So we're going to kind of move it in. There's reasons for that I covered in class. I'm not going to go into it. So we can scale these down. So I'm going to pick these bones so we can actually see them a little bit better. And I'm going to pick that one, and we can see what's going on a little bit better. And I'm going to use local mode, just like I showed in class. Okay, and take it to local because that's what you want to do. Don't do it in other modes. So with that now, they're kind of thinner, and we can see what's going on. I'm going to go back to the call it the shoulders or whatever. It really is that bump at the base of the spine as we at the back of the neck that we talked about. and we don't want it to be right out to the back. We want it further to the inside. I'm going to take these two as well, and I'm going to scale them down, just in the one axis and back. And I'm going to take the head joint, and I'm going to go see-through with Alt-X, and I'm going to place it so it's at kind of at the base of that crux, the back of the neck back here, and jam it in there. And then I'm going to place the neck bones. And again, I'm placing everything in a little bit. Don't worry about the volume of these things. It's irrelevant. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to scale that down, just get it out of my hair. Okay. It's a control object. We want to be able to grab it, but we can take it down in different sizes and stuff. So there you go. There's our shoulders and everything. I'm just going to scale this out of my way too, so we're not looking at it as much. Again, we want to be able to grab it, but I want to be able to see the spine where it's going. So that's all set. Let's get down to the legs. A control object on the bottom of the foot that controls the IK. Front viewport. Okay, hit your hotkeys. F. I'm going to put the control object in the middle of the foot first. Okay. Then I'm going to go and take the hip and move it in a bit further than what it normally should be. Okay. And again, this has to do with the way linear skin weights work. If we go wireframe, we can see the IK solver in the front viewport. Not guessing. Front viewport. That means F on the keyboard. I'm going to grab the knee now, and I'm going to make sure it lines up. There was good reason of that, and I went into a long explanation of why that had to be done in class. If you don't get it right, well, so back to front. We want to get the other leg going now, but guess what? We can copy and paste. Oh, I forgot, of course, my knee has to be put in sideways here. I'm just going to go see-through on both of these. And I'm going to take this back and put the knee where the knee is. You can see where the kneecap is. You guys do joint locations. But one of the things we need to make sure is that the hip is also back in the right place because it's probably been shoved forward. So that's probably about right there. I'm doing this really, really quick. We're going to take the foot bone. We're going to move it up to where the ankle is in the character. And this is a bit of a pain in the ass. As soon as you rotate it down in place, well, guess what? It does this. Now, one of the things we can do is we can add digits to it. We're only going to want one toe, and you can see there's two toe bones. Once I pick a toe bone, I can set that back to one. I only need that. And, for whatever reason, this can't pull it down like other bones do. It's just the way cat works, okay? You have to rotate it from here, and then it's going to do this. So what you want to do is left in the viewport, get the angle right to match the foot, and then bring it back down to the ankle. Okay, you'll see it blew your knee out and pushed it all over the place. We're going to pull our knee back into place again and probably pull it down back into where it's supposed to be. Joint placement in rigs is incredibly important. So that should work pretty good. I'm just going to go see through on those, and I'm just going to scale these down so they fit the rig a little bit better. That probably should be further up, and we can just pull that up with a scale again. Again, never scale anything ever except in a cat rig, pretty much. We want that at the ball of the foot, and that's going to be good enough. Not like we discussed in class, these shoes probably don't actually bend anywhere near what you'd hope they would if you're walking on them. Just ask any woman who's dealt with them. And it looks like my knee's been bumped off sideways in those switches, making those changes there to the ankle. So the fact that the knee doesn't fit side to side doesn't actually matter, believe it or not. Okay. Again, I discussed some of that in class. And once we have the one side done, we can pick it, modify panel, copy, pick the other leg, paste mirror. Okay, if your paste mirror doesn't work, there's some odd bugs in CAT they're working on right now that were introduced recently. Sometimes that's one of the things will stop. Just save the file and reload the file. It'll all function again for whatever reason. It's all been actually fixed for the next version of Max. So back up to the top up here. I'm going to make this one see-through, and I'm going to grab the clavicle. First bone in the arm is the clavicle, and it starts right up in here, okay? So we want to make sure that that's in the right place. Again, it tends to be best if I just scale that down so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, and it needs to be down inside the body, and so we're going to get it down inside the body, and again a little bit further than you normally would. So I'm going to pull it down maybe about there. You can see where the clavicle bone starts in the mesh where Michelle had modeled it. Shoulder joint now, same thing. I'm just going to take the scale down. I just find it easier to look at. and be able to see what I'm doing. Front viewport, shoulder joint is right about here. Okay, so we're going to get the shoulder joint there. Then in the left viewport again, we're going to pull that shoulder joint straight over and into place. So it's in the right location. So that should be a pretty good location for our shoulder joint. Next, we may as well go right down to the wrist. So front viewport, and drop our wrist in place. Okay, and again, I'm just going to go see through on all these so I can, get a good idea. Make sure your wrist is in the right place. Left viewport again, I'm just hitting L and then Z to zoom extents, and I'm going to move that right into place. And then we just need to bring the elbow back in. And like we discussed in class, things have to be lined up correctly. And again, back to front view. And I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping you can see where the elbow is there. I'm making sure that I'm keeping this in as much of a straight line as I possibly can. And in the front viewport, you don't actually have to be centered to get that to work. It can be done like that. So I'm just going to scale that one down, make my life easier again. And then the hand. So the hand actually, Y should be up. So that the pivots on CAT are a little odd. I would never set up a custom rig this way, but it works. And a lot of people use this in production. I'm going to take that down. That's going to be basically the main meat of the hand here. Local on my rotations as well. Again, holding down Alt and right clicking. And setting that about there, I guess. Now, we're not going to worry about fingers, but we want a thumb and a mitt. So we're just going to worry about a mitt for this because it's going to get complicated if we do anything else. Digits, 2. We really don't need to worry about 3 fingers in each one. So I'm going to set the fingers down to 2 on each one. Okay. And, again, I'm just going to go Alt-X just to go see through again. And then we're just going to kind of get this as close as we possibly can. Local on my move. First set of knuckles somewhere across there. Don't worry about that the index finger isn't in it. It doesn't matter that it's not inside of it, okay? And then the rest of the fingers in there. I'm just going to grab that and maybe just scale it up a little bit. You can twist them. The hands are modeled correctly. We discussed that in class, and that's how your hand should be done. With the thumb, we have to note that as we discussed in class, we're direction the thumb joint posts. That means that we're going to actually have to rotate over the Y so it points out of the thumb. And of course, we also discussed where that first joint exists in the thumb. And I'm going to take this down to sort of rectangles again, and I'm going to push that over into place. I like working in screens sometimes in cases like this. It's easier than sort of trying to even get your local to align up the way you want, but I'll always end up back in local probably at some point. Right about there, we're just going to go to the second joint of the thumb, and then we're going to have to rotate this down into place, keep it lined up and straight. Makes sense. And again, I'm just going to scale it down to the end of the thumb just so we can see where it is. You could set the volumes on all these bones. You could, but we really don't need to for what we're doing. Pick one of your arm bones. I'm just going to hit copy and then paste mirror, and lo and behold, everything's on the other side. That is your character rig effectively done. I'm going to grab everything again, Alt-X and Alt-X again, just to get it all back so I can see everything. And back to my perspective. And there you go. The character is effectively ready for animation. Couple tests. Let's move the foot straight up. Oop, knees going sideways. That's because of our location of this knee joint. So we want to bump it forward. It was too straight. There we go. Now it works. And again, I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste that to the other side so it's in the right spot, and then just confirm. Move that up. It's good. I should be able to grab the hand bone and I should be able to move that up, and it's going to bend straight backwards, okay, and not on some crazy angle. And there you go. That is ready for skinning effectively.